At this time, I'm only asking those VZAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VZAC representative. Bruce Rosenwig,
Here.
Craig Pinder,
Alternate Mosey Abdurrahmanov.
Ted Goodenough, Joan Oliva,
Here.
Joanne Scaria,
Here.
Fadi Nazar,
Here.
Ryan Mugridge, JC Beery,
Here.
David Willock,
Here.
Jean Matthews, Bruce Guyton,
Oh, shoot.
Michael Owens, Christian Santa Gonzalez,
Here.
Jermaine Swaby, Eliza Hanson, Clinton Williams,
Here.
Tracy Phelps,
Here.
Stephanie Thoborn,
Here.
Claudette De Los Santos.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I think there's a few that aren't here because of traffic this morning. It's pretty bad. The next item is and here's Jean. She just walked in.
Thank you.
Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, the following members are requesting VZAC permission to participate remotely. Michael Owens, please state why you are attending virtually. Michael Owens, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, sorry. You guys just made me a panelist, so it kind of faded out for a minute. Yes, I'm here all by myself in my office. No one else. So yes, I'm attending virtually.
Can you state the reason why you are attending virtually?
It's because it's our coverage still. I mean, I'm literally the only planner in here today, and it's just scheduled. The quirks of the schedule keep me. There has to be someone in the office, so today is my day, so I have to be here.
Thank you. Ted Goodenough, please state why you are attending virtually.
Health and transportation concerns.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Are there any objections to the board for allowing Mr. Goodenough and Michael Owens to attend remotely? Seeing none, you're approved to participate remotely, and if we can note their attendance in the minutes. Next item are the minutes from February 8th. Are there any changes to the minutes? I'm sorry, I think I had there was one thing that I really noted that was in 3A. Is that 3A? It says amendment number 3 to the 20,245 long-range transportation plan. So 2045.
Okay,
It should say 2045.
2045. I'm sorry, what does it say?
3A. That's under item 3A, information items. That was all I saw.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other changes to the minutes? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
As Joanne, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bruce. Bruce R. Okay, so we have other minutes from July 6th, September 7th, and October 5th. And these minutes have been updated and revised for the board to show attendance record of the Village of Palm Springs representative.
Madam Chair, this is Brian. I didn't interject. I don't think you took a vote on the last minutes.
Oh, I'm
Can I
sorry.
get a verbal confirmation to approve this
Thank you.
minute? Thank you.
Can we get a vote on the minutes?
Aye.
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 All right. All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one opposed. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so then the next one is July 6th, September 7th, October 5th. And it's just a revision to the attendance. Do I have any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve July 6th, September 7th, and October 5th minutes.
And that's by Joan. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Christian.
Christian? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and those pass. So the next item is the general public comments and comments on the agenda items. Instructions on how to provide public comments are in the agenda. Staff, have any general comments been received?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. So then, next item on the agenda are comments from the board. And I wanted to start with welcoming Clinton Williams from the city of Delray.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the transportation engineer for the city, so they decided to appoint me. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Well, welcome to our meeting. And then if I would open it up to anybody who wants to make some, Joan.
Yeah, I have some exciting news. Starting next week in the city of Lake Worth Beach, we will be offering the free electric vehicle circuit. We'll run from Tri-Rail all the way to the downtown. And then also next week, we're partnering with the TPA and Save Kids and having a helmet fitting and free helmet giveaway at Hatch 1121 on Lucerne Avenue.
That's great. Good news. Jean, do you have anything? Okay. Anybody over here, JC? No? Anybody else have any comments? Okay. Oh, Bruce, sorry.
Yeah, at our last meeting, we passed, I believe, a resolution to send a letter to DOT regarding addressing safety on A1A throughout the county. And I believe Brian Rusher was looking to see if he could set up a meeting with the DOT representative. Could you respond to that?
We have reached out to them to come and do a presentation to the committee, but we couldn't get them on this agenda. Our next agenda is April, I believe 4th. That will be a shortened agenda where we're going to do a similar workshop format to today, where we have a light meeting, generally about an hour, followed up by Safe Streets and Roads for All discussion. Today we're doing an LRTP workshop, so we probably won't have them until May, but if Boca Raton Bike Club would like to request a meeting separately from the VSAC committee, I can help facilitate that request too.
I believe we have a board meeting coming up in a week from Saturday. So we'll let you know and see if we can arrange that.
Thank you.
Great.
Anybody else on this side? Just a couple things that I had was, being that it's Bike Safety Month, I just wanted to share what we did, the town of Jupiter are doing. We did besides our proclamation, we also have a bike ride coming up at Riverbend Park. And then also we're doing Bike to Work Week during spring break when there's less traffic and less cars on the road. And then we are also at our skate and bike park going to be disseminating information that the TPA provided to us from the FDOT, as well as a bike rodeo and helmet fitting. Trying to just make sure we're all aware. And then at all of these events that we put out additional information on bike safety. And one other thing that since we were talking at the last meeting about fatalities, I heard about the fatality that happened a couple of weeks ago down here with the pedestrian. Apparently, they were talking about it in the restaurant, and it was literally like right down the road. Apparently, he tripped on the sidewalk, and someone wasn't paying attention. They were on their phone. The lady literally ran over him in a very pedestrian friendly area. And we had a similar situation in Abacoa we designed, that place is designed, you know, very pedestrian friendly. And we also had a fatality on on University and Parkside Drive. And you know, they were walking, and again, it had nothing to do with the design. It had everything to do with someone on their phone and not paying attention, and just literally just went when they shouldn't have because they were on their phone. So, I mean, I don't know how we get by these types of useless, wasteless, you know, tragedies, but it's just unbelievable on your phone.
Right. I think it's important to just mention to the committee, a lot of the pedestrianized areas, especially the ones that you referred to, the area of South Dixie Highway, as much as we can do and try to allude to design not being an issue, I do still believe that there's a substantial design and speed related issue. So if we have a heavily pedestrianized area, the design of the road needs to factor in pedestrian speed and the context. So without thinking about speed limits and controlling for speed on our corridors, you know, it's really unfortunate. I know the US 1 crash actually occurred where the US 1 multimodal corridor study recommended speed reductions, recommended a lane repurposing study. So I think that if you look at what the crash modification factors for those types of things would say, you'd likely have a greater severity that person would still be alive today. So I think speed is a big factor in a lot of our crashes. And if we're going to start doing heavier pedestrian emphasis areas and looking at safety, I think that the factors that we're looking at largely are related to speed. So.
Also, any modifications to our traffic signals for pedestrians and also for vehicles as well can also help.
All right. Well, it's sad. So whatever, you know, I think it's good to bring up those types of things like Bruce did and you know, so that we can bring that issue to the forefront. So anyways, moving on. The VSAC liaison report. So Valentina is going to give us that update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone. So first item that we have on our agenda, we have the Vision 2050 LRTP Needs Analysis Workshop, which I encourage everyone on this committee to attend right after the meeting is adjourned to provide your input for our Vision 2050 LRTP. This is very important. In the case that you did not submit for the call for projects, we can still get your input in this way. So please highly encourage you to stay on for this workshop. The next item on the agenda, last week we had the Safe Streets Summit conference, and the city of Boca Raton actually won the Complete Streets Community Award. So congratulations again to the city of Boca Raton for winning that. And also our council member, Yvette Drucker, with the city of Boca Raton, also won the Complete Streets Champion Award. So we're very excited to see that. Next on the agenda, this month is Florida Bicycle Month, which is very exciting. Thank you, Madam Chair, for sharing that the town of Jupiter will be conducting a series of events in honor for Florida Bicycle Month. That's very exciting. We have also heard from other municipalities that will be conducting events for Florida Bicycle Month. So if you have not already put in a proclamation for Florida Bicycle Month, highly encourage you to do that. And you can learn more on our website at palmbeachtpa.org/walkbike. Next, we have our annual TPA bicycle ride at the very end of March 29th at 8 in the morning. We still don't have the details for that yet, but it will be in downtown West Palm Beach. And for now, you can save the date and register at palmbeachtpa.org/ride. Next, we have the State Streets and Roads for All roundtable workshop, as Brian mentioned, that will be held April 4th, which is our next VSAC meeting. And similarly, just like today, after the meeting, we're going to have the LRTP workshop. After the April 4th meeting, we're going to have this Safe Streets and Roads for All workshop. Because the Safe Streets and Roads for All funding is actually open now. And there's a series of deadlines. I believe the first deadline is actually April 4th. And then the next one is sometime in May. And then the last one is in August. So we're really hosting this workshop to try and prepare everyone that's interested in applying for either the planning grants or the implementation grants. So if you would like to register, although you don't really have to register technically because you're in the committee, but you can go to our website, palmbeachtpa.org/SS4A roundtable. Next item, we have our Vision 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan Transportation Survey. That is still open, so we do encourage everyone to take that survey if you have not done so already. Next, there's the FDOT Local Road Safety Program. Applications are due March 15th, so please be on the lookout for that. For more information, you can contact angie.hudel@dot.state.fl.us. Next, we have the Safe Streets and Roads for All grants. As I mentioned, the deadlines are coming up, so please consider applying. Next, we have the Get on the Bus Challenge. This similarly, like Florida Bicycle Month, we also have a challenge, but it's more transit focused. And this will be going on from March to April. So if you are interested in taking on this challenge, you can contact ehenderson@pbcgov.org. And finally, we have the USDOT Grant Navigator tool, where you can use this tool to see and find any grant opportunities that are happening at the federal level. And for that, you can visit the transportation.gov/DOT-navigator website. And that concludes my liaison report.
Okay, are there any public comments on the?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks. Are there any comments from the board? No? We'll move on. Okay, so then we'll go to the first action item, which is an amendment to the TPA's 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan. And Nathan George, Long Range Transportation Plan Coordinator, will present this item.
Good morning,
Welcome.
everybody. So we presented this item to you last month as a first reading. This is your second opportunity to review the proposed Amendment 3 to the Long Range Transportation Plan. Again, this is our 2045 plan, the current plan that we're operating under, and the 2050 plan is our future plan. There were no substantive comments or changes from last month, so the other two committees, we offered them the option to not go through the presentation. I will convey to you that you had expressed, Madam Chair, you'd expressed interest and getting more details about some of the projects. I couldn't get comprehensive details about all the projects, but we do have some information we could share with the committee if that would be beneficial. But in the interest of these being all locally funded projects, we feel it'd just be appropriate to share that information and not tie it to action on this item. But if it would, if the committee's okay with taking action without the presentation, we'll be happy to go ahead and jump right to a motion to approve.
So did you have any of that information as part of your presentation?
No, I did not include it because we don't have comprehensive information for the 4 projects. We
Okay.
have 2 City West Palm Beach. One is a RAISE funded project. The other one is the proposed Fern Street extension, and then 2 county bridge projects.
Okay, well, maybe West Palm, we can see West Palm stuff later.
I'll be
Because
happy
I
to
always
share-
love
circulate
looking
that
at
to
this
the
stuff
committee.
because it's, I mean, not stuff, but I love looking at the designs and seeing what's new and what, what's innovative. But that's fine if, what is the board? Do you want to see the presentation body? Now you're good. Okay. Is everybody good? Okay. So if, do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. And no, do we have any comments on what we talked about last month? No? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the amendment to the 2045 LRTP.
Okay, motion by Joanne
I'll second that.
and Joan. And second, can I get a motion to approve? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the second item is the amendment number 3 to the TPA's Transportation Improvement Program, and this will be Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Programs.
Hello, good everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is a pretty short amendment for action today on our 5-year transportation improvement program that covers fiscal year 24 to 28. This is our program of federal and state funding towards transportation projects for the next 5 years. This specific amendment is really just dealing with one FDOT request, and that request triggers an amendment because it's a cost increase of more than 20% and $2 million. And as a reminder, this only impacts this amendment, so you're not voting for the entire TIP. It's really just this one project. This project is actually a TPA priority project. It's from US 1 from 59th Street to North Lake Boulevard. This section is 3 miles long. The full project really includes a lot of work on the bridge that crosses the Port of Palm Beach. That includes moving the barriers inward towards traffic and putting more separation between for pedestrians and bicyclists from traffic. It also includes lighting where feasible and a mast arm improvement. What this does is actually includes additional improvements for this amendment. So for this amendment, it's increasing the funding by $2.2 million to cover bridge repair. So looking at inspection of the bridge over the Port of Palm Beach, after that's looking to address additional superstructure deficiencies, so cracks and spalls within the superstructure. Also going to replace the bridge joints and then put a new coating on that bridge. So in total, that's $2.2 million. That raised the cost of the product overall from $7.3 million to $9.5 million for construction in fiscal year 2025. That's really the entirety of the amendment. I can take any questions.
Are there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. And I see Bruce R.
Yeah, I'm just curious, does the federal money come into play in this at all?
For this one specifically, no, they're actually using state funding for that additional funds.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the board or hands raised?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. There any more discussion? No? We want to get to our workshop. That's what, so can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the adoption of Amendment 3.
Okay, by Bruce. Can I get a second?
Second.
Joanne? Second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay, okay, no, nobody said nay. I just said nay just to say nay. Information items. Who's going to be presenting this? Took and Joseph Martin and from FDOT District 4 will present this, and I'm assuming they're on virtually. Okay. Welcome, Took.
Joseph, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm not sure if Tuck can hear or not.
I tried to promote her earlier. It didn't work, but I think she's on now.
Oh.
Can you hear us?
If not, I can run the introduction as well, if you like.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay, so good morning. We're here to present on behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation a proposed bike lane separation treatment on the upcoming SR 806 Atlantic Avenue project from west of State Road 7 to east of Lyons Road. My name is Joe Martin, I'll start the presentation basically explaining some of why we ended up here with a bike lane separation treatment. We were requested through some political requests and then through the DOT for us to look at incorporating some sort of bicycle lane separation between the through lane and the bicycle lanes. To this end, we researched several products and we landed on what's called a Ziegler zipper, which we got many pictures in here to show you. Incorporating these in this project as a pilot project because it's on the approved product list with the DOT, which makes things a little easier. The agenda today will basically go through the approved product list, channelizing device, followed by some project details, graphics, a detailed layout, and then an opportunity for question and answers at the end. Next slide. So the product selected is a Ziegler zipper module that is angled on the bike lane side and shaped similar to a curb on the travel way side. This was selected from the APL product list, as I said before, and it's placed along the buffer area between the bike lane and the through lane. Next slide, please. So the way they're shaped, they come in modular pieces and they can be placed in many ways. They have some flexibility depending on the application, the needs of each individual project. Next slide. Each module is approximately 11 inches square and about 5 inches high. What's shown here is two options or two different types of modules. You have the square module, and then you have a beveled module, which in some instances we place in the leading edge or the trailing edge. And we'll show you some more applications of this later on in the presentation. Next slide, please. So in this photo or this rendering is depicted in one of the scenarios with a double module, so it's 2 feet long, without transition pieces on the leading edge or the trailing edge. You could see where they're placed between the buffer area, between the bike lane and the through lane of traffic. Next slide, please. From a plan view, this illustrates the transition modules on the leading edge and the trailing edge, as well as a tight module spacing close to the crosswalks as we get closer to the intersections. Next slide. Here's a few photos of in-place installations being used in different orientations with different colors. There's many options with the product as far as how they put together, almost like Legos, how many you put, where you put, and the colors that you can get them, and they can become reflective as well. Next slide. So on the top left is a rendering of a similar application that'll be used to our Atlantic Avenue project. And in the photo in the bottom right is shown the orientation and spacing here. Again, similar to what you'll see when it's implemented on our Atlantic Avenue project. Next slide, please. So here are two more photos of the modules being placed in different orientations with different colors. Next slide, please. Here's a rendering of a similar application that is being proposed. This particular project's in Miami-Dade County, similar in nature to Atlantic Avenue, where we have a canal, we have curb and gutter, we have through lanes, and then we have the buffered bike lanes. This job is out to bid. It's not constructed as yet, but construction on this project will be started very shortly. This was approved through Florida Department of Transportation, District 6. Next slide, please. So here's the orientation that we'll be incorporating into our Atlantic Avenue project. You'll see that we're showing a 4-foot long zipper module and a 5-foot spacing. So there's 4 1-foot or 11-inch modules. Once we space them or once they're put together, they really come out to be about 4 feet long. You can see we're putting the beveled edge in the leading end and the trailing edge just to promote a little bit of bicycle safety, not to have a blunt end. And then on the travel side for the cars, that'll be a vertical face similar to a curb and gutter. Next slide, please. So here you actually see this is basically what Atlantic Avenue will look like once our construction is complete. You can see from the plan view where the zippers will be laid out. The black dots represent the zippers, You can see where we stop it, where the driveways are. We don't include it through the turn lanes, just simply because of the amount of vehicles that may try to transfer over there as they're trying to get into that right turn lane. So that's where we're limiting the location of them. And I believe with that, we can take any questions you may have.
Okay, are there any public comments first?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, Tracy.
Have you done cost estimates and what's your for these devices?
Yeah, the product costs plus or minus $200 a piece. And then the installation on that's probably twice that. So we've done some initial costing on it. There's not a lot of, it's very cutting edge, if you will. So there's not a lot of historical data pricing that we can go back through and determine what this job will actually bid at. It's one of the later items in the construction of that. And that other Miami-Dade County project that I was referring to, they actually had it in the original milling and resurfacing of the project, and then they omitted it and putting it back out as a separate project, standalone project, because of some pricing concerns they had.
Does DOT have an official pay item for it?
Yes, they do. It's considered a channelizing curb.
Thank you.
David?
I was curious, what, it looks like they're made out of plastic. What type of plastic and how would they be fastened to the roadway?
So they're recycled plastic. They're affixed to the roadway in two ways, similar to like an RPM. They could be glued down, or there's actually 4 bolts in each module to bolt them down to the ground.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Fadi?
Yeah, sorry about my voice. Hope you can understand me.
Okay.
I think you mentioned they can be fixed with kind of how they're going to be fixed to the asphalt.
They could be epoxied similar to a post-mounted delineator, or they could be bolted down.
Because I know we've seen picture where, you know, maybe something similar being damaged and you have something still sticking from the ground that becomes a hazard. I mean, how reliable are they? And what is the service life of these products?
Well, I mean, we can tell you from our experience, which has been very limited. That's why the DOT is looking at this as a pilot project to see how they react in the real installation. I know there's been some other places in the city of West Palm where they had some issues, maintenance issues with cars parking on them, driving on them, breaking them, and then, as you say, the bolts are sticking up. Again, we don't have the history of using them long term, so that's why we're classifying this as a pilot project, and they'll be monitored moving forward to see if it's working the way it's intended to be working.
Okay, and my other question, I know for the road, you know, those sweepers, you know, to clean the road, I mean, what kind of impact? And also if you want to restripe or doing something, what is the experience with cleaning the road and maintaining the striping?
Yeah, again, there's not a lot of historical data on these because they're brand new. As far as the restriping, they're actually within that buffer. So, it could be the striping can be touched up between those zippers. It would be laborious to do it that way. Depending on the life cycle of the striping and the zippers themselves, it may just be a replacement item every milling and resurfacing cycle.
And I know you responded to Tracy. What is the cost exactly? I didn't get that part. $200 per what unit?
Per the unit, per the module. So every 4 feet will be plus or minus $200 material cost. So it may vary depending on, like I said, we don't have any very limited historical bidding prices on this. There's a job in District 5 that they're putting in on the streets now. They've done a couple in Daytona Beach area, but the historical pricing on it is very limited.
I know you do have spacing between them. I mean,
Right.
roughly on a mile basis, do you have roughly an average cost on a mile basis for material and for installation?
So, no, I'm here. I just did a quick calculation because I know how many linear feet we have. Material cost price is probably in the magnitude of $55,000 to $60,000. As a rule of thumb, to double that is the installation. Again, it's not like we have a bunch of vendors out there who's installed these all over the place where it can get competitive. So, I would guess you're probably looking at $120,000 for this project.
Per one way or both ways?
That would be the total cost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Joan? I'm not sure if the speaker knows the answer to this question, but I've noticed that there's a bike separation on Lyons Road between Forest Hill and Southern. And I was wondering why those ones look like they're permanent and do exactly the same thing versus using this kind of technology that's plastic. Does anybody know? No.
I'm not, are they using the other alternative called an armadillo? It's kind of like raised,
yes.
Yes. So the installation of that and this are pretty much identical. As far as the type, there's been some other concerns on those armadillos, as far as the shape of them on some of the projects down in Miami Beach, which they've had some good luck with them and they've had some bad luck with them, mostly from the bicycle rider's perspective, not the vehicle perspectives. And that other project I was referring to, they built some of those armadillos by a school in the city of West Palm, and the school buses and everything were parking on them and they were damaging them, and they ended up taking them off. So I mean, they're no more or less permanent than these, I guess is the best way for me to say it.
And the cost is about the same? Do you know?
The cost should be about the same. Yeah.
Joan, I just want to clarify, Lyons Road is going to use a concrete curb separator.
Concrete,
so
okay.
That's going to be a more permanent solution for
Yes.
that county roadway. This is one of the first treatments on an FDOT road using this type of installation, and I believe in this context too. So with those caveats,
correct.
Generally a higher speed road with a lot more travel lanes. So I think they're testing it to see how it would work for a district-wide application. So that's one of the distinctions I think between those two projects you alluded to.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Goodenough.
Yeah, but mine's kind of a visual question because I can't see the pictures. You spoke of a beveled edge. I assume that beveled edge is heading into the bicycle riding surface. And is it flush at the bottom of the bevel with the riding surface?
It's, there's probably less than about a half-inch reveal at the very bottom, but that bevel is sloped towards the bicycle lane.
Okay. Valentina. You had something.
Thank you. Yeah, it's sort of piggybacking off of Joan's question. So I understand that this type of vertical treatment was on the FDOT's approved product list, but I am curious if there were any other vertical treatments that were on there. And if so, for example, a delineator or a bollard type of treatment. And if so, was that considered?
So there are two other types. There's like some low profile curbing and some post-mounted delineators. And some of the concerns we've been receiving on other projects using the post-mounted delineators has to do with some site obstructions when we have this many driveways, as well as maintenance issues and trash seems to collect around those delineators a lot more when it's blowing around as opposed to being able to be picked up off the side of the road. So it becomes a maintenance issue of the impact point. It becomes a maintenance issue of trash, and it also becomes a site distance and visibility issue once you're coming around, pulling out all the driveways and intersections. So we considered them, but we ended up with the lower profile visuals, so it doesn't block as much view or collect as much trash, creating maintenance issues.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify to the committee, like Brian mentioned, the reason why this type of vertical treatment is being used, it's because this is on the FDOT approved product list for a pilot project, so not for a permanent type of project. However, there are other forms of vertical treatments that can be utilized for a separated bicycle facility. So I just wanted to mention that.
Tracy?
What's the name of the project in District 5?
I'd have to get the name for you. I don't have it right off.
Okay.
Jean?
How do you determine space? I have a couple questions. How do you determine spacing? Is there any impact to drainage? And how far beyond 441 will the project extend? And do you think it's going to be effective to stop the cars? But I like the tight modular near crosswalks because people use the bike lanes to make right turns.
Okay, so let me start with the spacing because it's tied into the drainage. So the spacing was selected so that we didn't impact any of the drainage because obviously we need to make sure the water gets to the drainage, and the more obstructions we put in there, the more issues we create with drainage. So that's how we ended up with the 4 feet and 5 feet, 4 feet and 5 feet. Also, if a bicyclist has to get out, it gives them some room to get out and back in, as opposed to if you're in there and there's something that happens in the bike lane, what do you need to do at that point? As far as being on State Road 7, this pilot project is going only on Atlantic Avenue from State Road 7 to Lyons Road. It's not the full limit of our project. It's only this section of Atlantic Avenue that the zipper is going to be included on. And I think I got all your questions. I wasn't sure if I missed one.
No, thank you. Will this stop cars? Like if a car hit it, they would know that they hit it and try to be careful?
Yeah, I mean, if you hit it, you're going to know you hit it. It's going to be like hitting a curb next to a roadway. Will it stop you? If a curb doesn't stop you, they're not going to stop you. If a guardrail doesn't stop you, they're not going to stop you. But they will be a physical obstruction that if you do meander over there and you hit it, you will have an opportunity to course correct very quickly. It will get your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Fadi?
Yeah, this follow up to Valentina's question. I understand those delineators, those FDPs on a freeway, on a managed lane that get easily hit because people try to squeeze in or get out or whatever. I've had hard time seeing why would they be hit if they're dividing a bike lane with a road. Do we have experience here in Florida or, for FDPs and what their effectiveness is and how often they need to be maintained?
I do not have the exact numbers on that. There are instances, even when they put them at hardened center lines on urban roadways, the post-mounted delineators get hit often and have to be replaced often. I don't have the exact numbers. We may be able to look those up for you, though.
Yeah, if there's any project that has been implemented for bicycle, it'd be interesting to get the data.
Okay. Is that it? I think that's it. Jean, do you have another question? Okay. Oh, Tracy has one.
Do you know where on Daytona Beach that they might have, they have these?
There's a project they had them on. I can get the name of it for you. I think they were put in, and then again, because they were right off US or A1A, and they were
A1A.
creating issues with parking, so they had to remove them, similar to the other issue that we discussed. But they weren't on A1A, where they were on a side street to A1A.
Okay.
Okay. I for one think that innovation is a good thing and trying things is a good thing. It is a lower cost example versus like a permanent separator. So it would be a good thing to try, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how well it does.
Yes.
So, oh, we got Bruce now. Bruce R.
Yeah, I have another question. Assuming that this is a pilot project and it works out, they'll be looking to apply this method to other roads in the county, in the state. How easily adaptable would these things be to roads where there are existing bike lanes, but they're limited in not being able to add that, what is it, 6-8 inches or whatever between the two lines? Would this be adaptable and be able to be installed on a single line that separates the bike lane from the travel lane?
Yeah, sure. So essentially the footprint of the module is almost 12 inches, is 11 3/4 or something like this, right? So the typical DOT stripe is 6 inches. So if you don't have a buffered bike lane, like we have the 2-foot buffer between the bike lanes. So we have a 5-foot bike lane and a 2-foot or 20-inch area of the stripe. Okay. That's easily added to any one of the jobs that is set up that way today. If you in a situation where it's an older bike lane that's only 4 feet wide to the stripe, if you put these in, you're going to lose some either effective width of the roadway or of the bike lane. So it's all going to come down to how much asphalt you have out there to work with to determine if maybe you can narrow the lane, put a slight lane diet to there. Maybe you can do something to increase how the bike lane width is. But if it's on an application that's an older project that has a 4-foot bike lane and a 10-foot through lane already, you won't have a lot of application. If you have a 12-foot lane and a 5-foot bike lane, you can add them in there.
So you imagine if this project pans out and is effective, that it would be considered countywide?
I believe that's part of the pilot, is to give it a test drive to generate some of the data that you've asked me for as far as maintainability, cost, et cetera, and how they're going to actually operate in how often are they going to get hit? Are they really going to do what we intended them to do? Then if all those boxes are checked as yes, then I think it's a viable option that could be incorporated throughout the district.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Are we done? Are we done with that item? Oh, JC?
Hello. I just have a quick comment as a cyclist. I know that the separated bike lanes are really good about keeping cars out, but there's so much debris that you can run into. I've seen sand. I have friends that have ridden on 441 where all loose items drop off the back of trucks, bricks, rakes, all sorts of things. People have broken bones. So unfortunately, those keep you in the bike lane and you don't really have a lot of room to escape road deceased animals. Unfortunately, you never know what you're going to encounter. And I'm sorry, the armadillos that were on the bridges in Miami, they caused a few bicycle accidents, I believe. And were they removed from that project?
Well, there's a couple things on that project. They started with a very narrow roadway and a very narrow bike lane. And then they implemented the armadillos within that corridor. So they already didn't have enough room for having the cars and the bike lane on there. They were already at their minimum lane width and already at their minimum bike lane width. And then they took a physical area out of the middle by putting their armadillos in. So, in this instance, it's different from the perspective of we have a little more room. There is a little more flexibility for both the vehicles as well as the bicyclists. Now, you know, I believe the armadillos are still on that facility. I was watching something on the news the other day and I saw them in the background, but I'm not sure if they're on the actual bridge portion or the approaches to the bridges. Because the approaches to the bridges, it was Venetian. The approach to the bridges was much wider. Once you got on the causeway itself, it got very narrow. The whole roadway, the whole bridge deck got very narrow.
Madam Chair. If I can also provide a note on that. I think it's important to distinguish between the types of facilities that we're providing for recreational cyclists and those that we're providing for transportation-oriented purposes. So as a transportation planning agency, we do recognize that there are a substantial number of recreational cyclists who persist in our community, and we welcome them with open arms. Nevertheless, when we talk about doing transportation-oriented facilities, a lot of the treatments that we see for protected bicycle lanes are welcomed by commuters who will use bicycle lanes and facilities for these reasons rather than larger group rides. So I also agree as a recreational cyclist that the treatment needs to be very prescriptive to the right area. You know, if we're talking about a limited section like on A1A where the right of ways are very small and in the circumstances that Joseph described and you described on the Venetian Causeway, the armadillos, probably not the greatest treatment given the limited space that we have. But where we have room and where we can protect the facilities for users to try to encourage one, mode shift, and then two, an environmentally sustainable mode of transportation for a broader audience. This is what the treatment is that we are going towards and that we reflect in our scoring criteria. So I do want to also provide that note that we do welcome our transportation. Obviously, we welcome our recreationally focused cyclists in the communities, but when it comes down to the system that we're trying to build, really is geared towards transportation services as a first and foremost priority.
Oh.
Do
I was
you
just
have
gonna
something,
add,
Valentina?
I was just gonna add to that and say that I'm also not sure if JC, the road that you're referring to, if that's a flush shoulder road or if it was curbed. Do you happen to remember? Because that could have an impact as well. I know that this location at Atlantic Avenue and Lyons Road, it's curbed, so I'm not sure if debris might occur. But that definitely does happen on flush shoulder roads.
Tracy?
Can you bring up the detail of this device with the striping that you shown?
One more, one the other way. It's second to the last is, I think, what he's looking for. That one.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know, for my 30 years plus design, safety and intersection design, well, I would never recommend to put these devices right on a line, on a striped line. If it would be nice to have some type of buffer, like a 2-foot space. And put the device inside that type of space. If you have the right of way or the roadway width, this would probably work out fine, this design. But just going out there and it sounds like the armadillos on the bridge were probably, they just stuck them out there on the stripe line and it took space from the through lane and the bicycle lane. It's nice to have a little bit of a buffer like shown here. It's not much, but it's a little bit. So yeah, I think with proper design, these things probably will work, but if you just go out there and stick them on the outside edge line, thinking that they're going to work good, I don't think that would be the right engineering procedure. And that's all.
I think it's better than nothing. That's my opinion. Just because I'm, you know, as a infrequent bicyclist who's uncomfortable, I'd like to ride my bike to work. But it's without a physical barrier, I find it very difficult. And I just think it's better than green stripes on, green bike lanes. It's physical. It's actually, that person texting, if they hit them, they're going to have a note to themselves to move over because they're gonna, it's something that they don't want to mess up their car and they'll pay more attention, even those young kids. So texting and on their phones. So I think it's a good thing to try new things and you can always take them out. We can try something new. But if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next item, to the administrative items. And these are items 4A through 4C. They're information only and no staff presentation. Are there any public comments or comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so then in them, there's the governing board summary points, the DOT scheduling, and our next meeting is April 4th. And I guess our meeting's adjourned and oh, sure,
I
Jean.
have one quick question. The grant applications have, I'm sure, come in, or they're coming in now, and they're going to be reviewing the grants with this committee. What is the date of the review with the committee?
So the Palm Beach TPA, the agency has decided to not move forward with the scoring for those applications. So there will be no scoring for that.
And I can just provide a little additional clarification. When we presented the scoring guidelines for the Transportation Alternatives Program to the TPA Governing Board in the October meeting, the Governing Board made a recommendation to staff to strike the additional presentation back to VSAC in the typical April meeting. So in lieu of doing that typical review of the projects with VSAC, which was standalone and basically exclusive privilege of this committee, really through the history and development of the projects. We didn't do that for our transportation, our other funding programs, such as the state road modifications, local initiatives. So the governing board wanted that stricken from the agency's schedule. And for that, we are going to replace that scoring meeting with a shortened agenda for next month and the Safe Streets and Roads for All workshop / roundtable that we'll be doing. So we'll be hosting all of our agencies who are interested in going after Safe Streets and Roads for All, those who have a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant already, and our partners in the region to learn about how to go from planning to implementation for projects, to learn about coordinating with FDOT in Palm Beach County at the planning level when you're undergoing your Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. So that's going to take the place of the agenda item that typically would be seen before VSAC every year.
I think I had heard through the grapevine that we weren't going to be scoring them and ranking them, but I still would request that they be presented even as an informational item. The way that staff went through it last year, it didn't take a lot of time. I mean, we'd like to see this and be able to comment on them before they're well into the design phase. So I'm going to recommend in May that we make a motion to see the projects, to have a staff presentation of them.
That is at the purview of the committee. The TPA governing board did provide the direction to staff not to include the presentation to the committee.
I'd like to see the presentation.
And why, just why, wondering why?
It's a privilege that VSAC has had over the other projects. So we had in our historically, we've had 3 funding programs: local initiatives, state road modifications, and transportation alternatives. The TA projects used to be scored by the formerly BTPAC. When we became VSAC, we continued that trend. However, we scaled back the amount of time that it took to do that presentation and coordinate the efforts by making the TPA staff provide the presentations. But that is, while it's not very much time on the VSAC's behalf, it is a substantial amount of time coordinating on our staff's behalf. So for that, the The governing board recognized that this was a special privilege for, VZAC to get like an item specifically for the committee to review the projects and to go through and potentially propose a re-ranking to them that is over the objective scoring that all of the projects go through. So for that, the governing board directed staff to not provide the presentation to VZAC.
I want to phrase it a little differently. Instead of a special privilege, the TPA gets the benefit of civil engineer, road engineers, planners. You get our expertise and knowledge, and we give you the privilege of our input.
Okay, I will reiterate that the governing board directed us not to provide this, not to provide these presentations to VZAC.
I'd like to make a motion to ask that it go back and that the presentation, that we are granted permission to have the presentation given to us in May.
Madam Chair, if I may, who has submitted a transportation alternatives application before in the past on behalf of your agency? So Jean, okay, Christian, Tracy, Buddy. How much influence and scope change has occurred on behalf of the agency based on the feedback from the Vision Zero Action Committee, or formerly BITPAC, just for everyone's information and out of context? Has there been substantial amount of changes to the scope from the projects based on the feedback of the VZAC committee? Has there been any change?
I'd like to point out that this committee re-ranked the El Rio Trail, I believe 4 years ago, from last to second. And it put it in a position where it was able to receive money. And we felt it was a better project. And I kind of think TPA thought it was a better project too.
I would, based off of the direction that we received from our governing board, we have an objective scoring criteria, which we utilize to provide to the governing board all of our projects. We have one for local initiatives. We have one for state road modifications. We have one for the transportation alternatives. TA is the only program that in the past has been given this ability to be re-ranked and to take projects which, have merit. And surely the El Rio Trail had merit and it moved forward and it moved up. But the direction this year was that the governing board wants to stop the subjective nature of the program and provide a direct scoring to the process. So that is the direction that we've received as staff, and that's the direction that we'll continue to have from our governing board.
It sounds to me as if, along with our name change, that our goals and objectives have changed slightly. So I think I wasn't prepared to discuss any of this, and honestly, I've been a little busy to watch what the governing board has been requesting of us. And I think that's something that we should look at, who's I know who the town's representative is on the governing board, and I'll get with my direct, I'm his direct, basically I've been put on here for him, but I want to understand all that before we start making requests of the governing board, because I understand the point of view. I'd just like to understand it a little bit more and see what is it. I mean, one of the things we talked about when we did our name change was, what are our main goals? And we need more police officers, and we need more fire folks, and we have Bruce G on and Mr. Goodenough, and what is it that we can do to disseminate the information throughout the Palm Beach County area. I don't mind that the grants are going away. I did like seeing them because I like to see what the region is doing, and more so that than the scoring. But I mean, it was kind of a fun exercise, and And in my opinion, it was somewhat of a privilege to score those things. I was like thinking that was a really good thing. But I think we should all, I'm not prepared to have a really deep discussion, but I think we should try to think about what our Vision Zero Advisory Committee board is. And I see Bruce, you had your comment card up on that. Bruce G. No, you're in line first, so, yeah.
Madam Chair, if I
Please.
may add to that, the agency is planning on presenting a Vision Zero Advisory Committee training to its members to sort of clarify and solidify the role of this committee. So that is on the works. We're shooting for May, so hopefully in May we will be able to provide that training to you all, just to clarify the role of this committee. And also on your note, when you were saying that you would like to have more other members for this committee, we are also working on getting fire rescue as well. That is on the works. So thank you.
My question was more of a procedure as opposed to the process. And I don't have a dog in the fight. Either way, it's okay with me. But I see that there are members that have an interest in at least seeing the projects. So my first question is, doesn't Chapter 119, the Public Records Law, allows this type of information to disperse, not just to us, to anybody who may request it through that Chapter 19 Public Records Law?
Certainly, yeah. There's no provision in our language that protects the information of the applications that we receive for funding. So we always post the information for the projects that we have received on our website and let people review it. And that means it provide feedback directly if they would.
Okay, I just want to make sure that Chapter 119 is being complied with as well.
Certainly.
Because anybody can request it,
Right.
so.
And that has to do more so with public records and individuals typically, especially if we have a partner agency.
I understand.
Listed on the committee, we're open. Your liaison is the best point of contact for getting information from us.
I get, the point was that it's accessible to the public if anybody wanted to see.
Absolutely.
Okay. And my last point is we are an advisory board, so our comments really are not required by the TPA to be accepted in their decision. They can be considered, but because this committee may suggest something, that doesn't obligate them to adopt.
Of course. The TPA governing.
Scores, yeah.
Yes.
So I think most of us understand that, but there are some members that may just have an interest in wanting to see it and have some comments on record. And personally, I don't think that's asking too much. And the last one, I would be interested in seeing that discussion in the minutes about whether to provide it to VZAC. I would be interested in seeing what kind of discussion took place.
So I'll direct you to our YouTube channel or our TPA Governing Board website, where the minutes are posted and the video description, the whole video of the program is available. So
Okay.
that is
Wait, let
available.
me ask you this. I would like staff to identify in the minutes where that discussion took place.
That's under the agenda item.
Yeah,
for-
wait, listen to me. Within the minutes,
Mhm.
I'm telling you that some of us are pretty busy sometimes, so as staff is also. But if you're familiar with that discussion, I'm asking you to go to it and identify it for me and provide me with that section of it.
Certainly. Okay. We can provide you the reference.
Yeah, I can follow up with you and send you that.
No, and I think that's a great idea, because you can say at 1 hour, 28 minutes, this is when the start of the discussion, so we could watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the game a long time. I mean, I've been in government over 30 years.
Right.
So there are just certain things that I understand that staff can assist with and can save the board members' time. Okay.
I can send it to the committee, to the entire committee for informational purposes.
That would be great.
Thank you very much.
The other question is, and I'm happy to table this discussion till next month, till we look at the meeting minutes and we have internal discussions. But I would ask that the applications be distributed to us or a link be provided to us so we can review them. And then the other thing, I'm lucky enough to serve on the county's cross-departmental infrastructure team. And what that is it's members from many different, like 20 different departments, and we get together and we've created, Renee at the county has created a website, a GIS layer that identifies all ongoing county projects. So roadway won't repave a road where water utilities is going to put in a pipe 6 months later. So anyhow, it would be helpful to get these projects onto our GIS layer so you can point at an intersection and know everything that's going to happen in there in the next couple of years.
The only caution I will provide to you all, we will provide the links to review the project documents after the meeting. We're still going through some vetting of projects, so we can't provide everything in full detail quite yet. We have to make sure that we're actually getting the projects through that are going to move forward, so to speak. So I don't want to provide you all something that for a project that may be withdrawn, for example. But if you do receive those projects, and because of the requests that you provided, just do be cautious about communicating with other Vision Zero Advisory Committee members about those projects. If discussions between members occur for a potential future agenda item, that would be a violation of sunshine law. So just be cognizant of that. You are an appointed member of a committee from an elected official. If you are discussing things between one another for a known or potential future agenda item, that is a sunshine violation. So do be cognizant of that.
Will the presentation you gave last year, it was wonderful and we appreciated it. Will that presentation be given to any of the other boards?
Which presentation, Jean?
You guys presented all the projects to us last year and it was very succinct and you went through and you outlined it. Are you not giving that presentation to
No,
anybody?
it was just to the Vision Zero Advisory Committee.
Because I think actually the governing board would love to see those kind of things.
That the governing board has never requested those presentations before. I shouldn't say never, but in recent history, they have not requested those presentations. They prefer to see the list of priority projects ranked. If they have questions about the specific details of the project, staff can pull up that information as is part of the agenda backup. But generally speaking, the only thing the governing board has seen for the other previous funding programs has been the list of priority projects that we publish. And they take that ranking, and if they so choose to make a modification to that ranking, they go through that process. But the governing board has not received that level of detail for project presentations, with the few notable exceptions, such as State Road 7 Atlantic, State Road 7 from Atlantic Avenue, State Road 7 from Jog to, that roadway that we just discussed earlier today. So there's very few exceptions for where the governing board is interested in seeing project level data.
I will also note that the TPA every year posts the submitted applications on our website. So that is available, and the ones that were submitted for last year, they are currently available. The ones for this year, we haven't posted them yet because we're not done. We're not finished going through the eligibility phase of those projects that were submitted. But what I can do is I can let you all know once those are posted on our website so they can all take a look at it.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. All right. So let's adjourn here and get moving on to our workshop. So April 4th is our next meeting, and hope you guys stay so we can give good input on the 2050 analysis. All right.
And yes, so I would suggest taking 5 minutes for